there's something about not being of my own anymore that translates so well to being a dad, to being a husband, to being a worker, just every aspect of life.
So, Ray, for the last 45 minutes, we've been discussing and figuring out what the heck are we going to talk about. And then about 10 minutes ago, you're like, maybe it's just, what is the Lord speaking to you this month? And what are the choices that you're going to make? So before I go, because you already heard me, I'm going to turn the tables on you. Because it's been about a month since we did our last podcast. So what are the things that you're hearing, learning, choices you're making, choices you're helping your kids make? All the stuff.
Yeah. Well, technically, I was the one that was chatting a lot. But like, I think that I'm, 44 years old. I think I've had a good amount of life experience to know that I think not every battle comes at you directly. Like I think obviously there's battles that are obvious, right? Like conflict, criticism, family concerns, maybe some work stress, and then there's other battles that are sneaky, right? More internal battles. Some of the things that we talked about. I think that was like kind of the main thing you and I were discussing for the last 45 minutes was recognizing what's outside, trying to attack, and what's inside that we compromise and attack us from within, right? So like when I say about other battles that come quietly, I'm talking about like conflict, or not, or more like pride, distraction, some sort of resentment, fatigue, and maybe even some of like secret compromises that we make with ourselves that we open the door to, and we can start to lose our spiritual focus. And so I thought that it was good. It's a good idea, because reading today Numbers out of all the books, it like specifically like 23 to 26, Numbers 23 to 26. It reminds me to not live afraid of what others say about you or think about you or want to attempt against you, when my life really belongs to Christ, right? Like another like Christ determines my identity, not another person's opinion. And that can be really tough, man. Like it because there's a lot of things going on around us, and that can, there's a lot of outside things that is going on around us that can continuously try to curse you, right? Which is what that story is talking about. It's talking about Israel's going into about to go into the promised land, and there's people in the promised land that are afraid, and they're wanting the king wants to place a curse on Israel before it gets into the land, right? And so like he hires Balaam, and he wants him to curse, but again, like the enemy, it couldn't, because God already blessed them, right? God's blessing is stronger than anything outside humans can do, like human criticism, whatever it is, right? So anyways, what ended up happening, right? Like, so the two contrasts, right? Like someone from the outside wants to curse, um, and then what the enemy can't curse, they tempted, right? So man, I'm like trying to remember the story. Like so they tempted the men, the Israelite men from the within, right? By sleeping with like Moabite women, worshiping what they want to worship, right? So it's so what the enemy couldn't curse Israel from outside, he tempted within, right? And so I think that we got to remember that what the enemy is not able to, um, he's not able to remove God's love for you, but he's going to try to distract you. He's going to uh, try to keep you from walking closely with the Lord. And I find that like difficult because he's crafty, right? Like the enemy is crafty, like, and it's not like we have to always be aware. It's not something huge sometimes, right? Sometimes it can actually be comfort. It can be discouragement, right? Pride, um, anger, busyness, exhaustion, like everything, right? Lust. Um, so yeah, man, I think that I, it just really speaks to, what you and I were discussing for me, of recognizing both, that we have to guard against both, but in reality, remembering that Christ's got us with both, because he is both, right? He's the answer to both of the battles. He's our protection from accusation, um, and temptation, um, and he doesn't like he doesn't just tell us in his word. He gives us his spirit so that we can walk in it, right? We can walk in truth, we can wisdom and courage and self-control. So um yeah, and then like the last one I was reading was Numbers 26, and and that was more along the lines of like, um it was basically a census, right? Now it was counting the census after everybody from the last generation died, because they're about to go in, right? And and that can be, you know, this clan is from this clan, and you're just kind of like reading through it. Um, but at the end, it kind of it talked about like who could be counted, like and I think of it like this, like when God counts those who can be trusted, right? In this next journey, in this next season, like, Ray, are you going to be counted as faithful? You know what I mean? Like, and again, not perfect, but are you going to be faithful? Are you going to be obedient? Not perfect, right? And I hope so. Like, I want to. My flesh says I want to, but um that's the battle, right? That's the battle, and remember, between the both outside and inside, but remembering God, Jesus is the answer to both. So anyways, I've rambled on. That was my Bible study for the morning, and I thought it was just yeah, like I said, a good, from the things you're talking about with business world, and then me talking about um you know school counseling and the curriculum that I'm putting together. Like, that's kind of
Yeah.
what spoke to me
Yeah.
today.
No, that's good. It was some I was thinking about yesterday. I mean, I'll talk about my, church thing in a minute, but even um there's so much noise, even just like not the news and stuff like right now either, but there's as people are becoming more and more adept at AI, they're getting better and better at using it. Um, it's got some great applications. We've talked about it plenty. The downside that I'm seeing is it's almost this AI overwhelm, and it almost like overloads the brain with too much information. Like your brain cannot handle the amount of information that it's spitting at you, let alone if it's accurate or not. And, my son Peyton he's just this brilliant, has this brilliant engineering mind. And so he's constantly like, okay, well, we could create like a teleporter. And so then it's, Gemini's like, great idea, buddy. Like, yeah, let's build this teleporter. So then he gave it to me and I said, okay. So I put it in a different AI. I said, tear this apart, be ruthless, like give me a PDF, gap analysis, like all these business, terms. And it spits out this gap analysis, this PDF, and I print it off and hand it to him. I'm like, here's the problems. And he's just like, what? Gemini lied to me? I'm like, yes, it did. Um, just yeah. But I think it's even just like that the overwhelm that you can feel, and it's like you're talking like the external, because we before we were talking about like there's a lot of business externals right now that are there's things you have to be aware of, sales cycle slowing down and there's just stuff. But the internal thing, right? The internal thing is really where that's the thing that matters most to people. And I guess it ties in fully as well with I've been doing a lot of deep diving back into marketing and really understanding marketing and messaging and psychology and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, people, people don't want. It's kind of the silly sales adage or marketing adage where it's why do people buy a drill? They don't buy a drill for the drill. They buy a drill so they can drill a hole. They want the hole, right? And so in the same way, when you're doing like in marketing messaging, the thing that you're looking for is kind of the internal drivers. What do people want? Well, they want peace of mind. So your messaging then needs to speak to that end state of peace of mind. Now, if it's, if you're a plumber, what are the things that you want? You want to give people peace of mind. You don't want a 2 a.m. surprise, right? So that makes sense. So that's the messaging that you're talking about. It's not,
Yeah.
hey, we're the best plumber in the world. It's what are the internal drivers? And I think that even for people's like mental state, I think there's a lot of the external drivers that we need to tune out a little bit and just have that download. So when you had asked me that question about like what are things, and it was funny because I was telling you a friend of mine that I met probably a year and a half ago. I didn't know this till a few weeks ago that they go to our church, and they've been going to our church for a long time, like 10 something years. And it was her husband that was preaching this last Sunday, and he's not on the pastoral staff or anything, but it was a great message. And essentially it was around this same idea of, what are the things that you need to be listening to and not, and is it okay, Holy Spirit, what are the things that you want me to be doing? All right, Lord, where do we need to be going? What do we need to be doing? And I was telling you that it was in there, and it's kind of like just have these like promptings, like you just know. So I've been taking all these courses and doing all this marketing, and there was one that just was like, you need to stop that one, like you just need to shut that one down. And I was like, what? Like that wasn't an internal thought, right? It wasn't something. It was something I've been working on, and even by doing that, it was like, okay, well then what am I gonna do? It's a lot about like content creation and messaging and stuff like that. And essentially the feeling, the word that I got was just sit with me, listen, and then communicate. I said, oh, okay, that's fair. Like those are the things that are going to be better land. And it's even in that piece, right? There's so much noise, what should I be doing? I have all these options. And when you like slow down and you cut that noise out for a second and you just allow yourself to be quiet, it's when things start showing up. And even if people aren't Christians, I mean, there's plenty like, we've talked plenty about the War of Art, that book where he talks about it being the muse or whatever. And you look at all these great things in the Odyssey, which I don't know, have you seen that movie yet? The
I have
Odyssey?
not.
Yeah, I haven't either. Apparently it's really good. It's based on a really popular book. Go figure.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but where did those great inspirations and things come from? It was from somewhere. Now I believe it was the Holy Spirit that inspired people. And that's a controversial thing, I know, because people are like, no, the Holy Spirit only inspired the Bible. I'm like, I don't think so. I think the Holy Spirit inspired a lot of people to do a lot of great things, whether
Totally.
it's Michelangelo and his art and whatever. So, because I think there's beauty and I think there's truth, and the source of all truth I believe is Jesus. So if I believe that, then I can see truth and beauty and life and Jesus in everything,
Yeah.
creation and in the created that are creating other things. So, um, there's my theological tangent. People may agree or disagree with that one. But all that to say is that it's with the AI overwhelm that I think is coming. And I said a few years ago, I think that people are going to yearn more and more for simplicity. They're going to yearn for analog. And I think it's coming. It might be coming faster than I originally thought. I said by 2030, everybody's going to kind of be over it. But it's going to be so integrated into people's lives that it's going to run a lot of things, which, again, I think there's a lot of really good application. All to say, news cycles, social media, AI overwhelm, friends, information, books, the amount that's just being created and pumped out right now. Like there's no way that a brain can keep up with that. And um, so I think now more than ever, I think you're right. It's the, okay, Lord, what are you speaking to me? Not the what is the best, what is the best right thing. It's not even a right or wrong. It's just slowing down and saying, okay, what is the thing for me and what do I need to be doing? Because if I
Yeah.
get caught up in what everybody else or what I think the best option or whatever is, I think I'm going to lose sight of the most important thing because I might lose myself in all of that. So
Right.
I don't know. There's my ramble.
Yeah, I like
Back
it.
to you, Ray.
Oh, yeah, I think all that, everything you said, man, is. I mean, I relate to, even if it's not like, you know, I mean, I'm not a business owner or anything like that, but there's just certain principles that we, um, we can like rely on when it comes to, helping our train of thought and helping us make decisions and good choices, right? So,
Yeah.
uh,
I need to
yeah,
admit something though. I totally
yeah,
suck at this. Like it's not my, and I think I've said this before. It's not my, uh, honestly, it's not my first or my fifth or my 20th thought. Like I should pray about it. It's not like, um, it's just being real, right?
I
It's
agree.
not. And so the more and more that like, that's why I like going to church. And it's just that reminder like, oh yeah, that should be more and more primary. So I think my hope, my goal, my prayer, I guess, is that it moves from the, 37th slot to maybe the 35th this week. Maybe next
Yeah.
week it's the 30th. I don't know. Because I want to live more that way. I just don't. And yeah, I don't know. There's
That's
there.
big.
Yeah.
I mean, speak on that just a little bit more.
I need to do more confession. Is that what you're saying? That's fair. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, because it's and maybe it's because of the way that I was raised, and we've talked about this a bit. Where I tell people now, I think my ministry is more to disenfranchised church kids because I am one, I was one, I guess I still am. But it's also there's so many of those cliches like, oh, just pray about it. No, because I've seen so many people that say, okay, I just pray about it, and they just do stupid things. It's like, okay, either God is telling you to do really dumb things that's hurtful, hurting your family, whatever, um, or you were lying,
Mm,
or whatever, right? And
yeah.
so it's helping decouple, like I said, for disenfranchised church kids, like decoupling okay, there's plenty of cliches, and there's things that people don't actually believe, and they don't actually live that way. But then you also can't throw out the fact that there are people, and my own experience, where I actually do slow down, and I actually have heard the Holy Spirit speak to me in some things. And when I do those things, it just seems to work out better. Now, why don't I just rely on that more? I don't
Mm,
know. Probably because of the mental and religious baggage that I have, which honestly feels like it outweighs more than my actual lived experience. So there you go.
boy, I like how you kind of put that in a chewable thought, like our church, we just wrapped up Hebrews, right? Like Hebrews 11, it was written down for us as so that we remember, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
Um how I don't know how fickle we are as human beings that we forget so
Mm.
quickly
Yeah.
of all the good things that, right, like when you said like I should be praying for those things, and it's amazing how like when I do pray for those things and I stand and be still before God, like how things turn out well. And then like and then like maybe 5 minutes later, like prayer is like 32nd on our mind, right? 31st, like that is, it's yeah, man, I feel I feel stuck some of those that way too. And I think, yeah, I certainly think, um, you know, I think our upbringing certainly has things to impacts that in some ways. I just, yeah, man, gosh, I just go back to, what Paul says, like, I know what's good, but I do what's wrong anyways. Sometimes it's, and like, it's just, it is kind of, it feels like that internal struggle a lot. Like you're um you know you're a spiritual being, but you're still flesh. Like you're still, like you still have, I still feel pain. I still feel, the heaviness of the heart. And like we discussed this during our 45-minute, like trying to figure out what we're talking about. And like
Pre-game.
I also read, like I also read like Psalms, and like David was that way a lot, man. Like he really thought about, hey, Lord, hey, like these people are outside, they're about to come get me, like I am, like, you, like, destroy, like, you know what I mean, destroy them, like, like. And then at the end he's like, it's almost like he has this, there's this pause button at the end of us, at the end of every psalm, that says like, but you are faithful. But like it's him standing still and remembering that he is God. And ending out what's a struggle psalm into like a praise and a worship at the end. You know what I mean? It's almost like that pattern. And like I feel that way, right? And maybe that's why he's a man after God's own heart, and that's why you and I think about those things a lot too. You know what I mean? When we are still, we remember that he is faithful, right? And but before we get to that point, hey, the parents are down my neck, Lord. Like I'm stressed out about, like, putting things together. What is it? How's a teacher going to respond? Like all those things come, like they just like bombard us for a bit, and they overwhelm us. Um, and so our brain doesn't have that time to pause and choose, which is funny because that's a skill that I teach within my huddle curriculum, is, to pause, think, and then choose the next right thing, right? Something practical and repeatable that you can do every time, which is basically like is a choice. You're making the next choice, but you're making it, um from a place of, maybe a little bit more place of, like maybe more peaceful place, rather than, what we talked about a couple podcasts before, which is letting our emotions drive us, instead of, being in the passenger seat.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing that I still, you were trying to get out of it, and I want earlier, so I'm gonna see how it goes. But you were sharing with me, Ty turning 18,
Mm,
and
mm,
how, I mean, I think it's kind of funny because I was actually thinking about this last week with my kiddos, and it's going to be an interesting, because okay, you're 18 now, you're completely in charge of your own life, and you're legally responsible for every decision you make, good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. So from here on out, right? You go to prison if you make really dumb decisions. Like obviously Ty is not that guy, but it's just there's some weight and some gravity to that. Like you sign
sure,
contracts, it's your name on the line, right?
for sure.
And it was somebody that I think it was Greg Duncan back in the day talked about not raising kids, but raising adults that go through childhood.
Yeah,
And I think about that a lot, where it's helping our kids navigate, make decisions, go through things so that when that time comes, and obviously it's come for you, for your oldest, when that time comes, that we actually are releasing, upstanding human beings into the world.
yeah,
So tell me about that. Like, I'd love to hear, like, how is that for you? Number one, as a dad, that seems, that seems tough. I mean,
man. Yeah, 18 years ago, you know I didn't really imagine myself being a dad. I mean, I couldn't see that vision. A couple things. I was I was certainly, a heathen for sure. I was, I was certainly a prodigal son for sure. That, God was not my first, uh, I did not filter life through a godly perspective. I filtered my life through a very selfish perspective. So because of that, I did not see myself as a dad. Um, I mean, and even if you want, we can go as far as, not, even my marriage through a very selfish lens as well too. And, but now, you know, uh, since um, 2008, man, and when when the good Lord took over my life and I came running back, it just is, everything, through a godly lens has just changed the game for me, man. And obviously it's you know uh, 10 years in the making, like, and I'm still going through it. I'm working out my salvation every day. um but when it comes to becoming a dad and a parent, man, I don't know, it really, just not just for my oldest son Ty, but also for Reese too. um and having a godly perspective, it's there's a lot of, like, compassion and, and understanding that, when I'm trying to encapsulate it in words that, uh like, I know that not a lot of people will understand if they listen to this, but there's something about, um not being of my own anymore that translates so well to being a dad, to being a husband, to being a worker, just every aspect of life, that I'm this my life is not my own anymore. It's entrusted to someone. So that goes to how I parent my kids, and that my wife and I, we have been entrusted with the privilege of raising, protecting, teaching, correcting, right? Preparing, like you said, preparing our sons, um, for the next chapter in their life, for what God has for them, and under our stewardship, I have seen my oldest son through, most of his daily choice. He's not perfect, right? But through, like, daily choices, that he's capable of making wise decisions, right? He's capable of working hard. He's capable um of leading others, and taking some of that responsibility and ownership. Like, what is what is tough for me, and I don't know why, but, um is knowing that, like, our roles are going to change for him.
Mm. Ooh, yeah. What do you mean by that? Like,
Right? It's like, well,
just the
like, so
relationship?
that,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
tomorrow he's going to turn 18 tomorrow, August 4th. Like, that day is coming where, and then, like, he's going to go through, obviously he's still going to be living with us, but I want that, there's it's a marker, there, it's a guidepost for his life, right? Like, the day is coming where, he's going to step beyond Kelly and I's daily stewardship and take full responsibility of his own life. And what makes that even, can I say this? Like, he has options already. God has blessed him with options already. So it's there. It's there for him to make the choice, and move forward, um, in a godly manner. But, like him taking ownership, uh, like, I also want him to, how can I say this? I want, like, I have my own faith, and I came to Christ, you know, however the Holy Spirit willed it. But I want his faith to be his faith. That's what I mean by him taking ownership, right?
Yeah.
His choices uh, is going to become like I said, like his responsibility, and I want his character that Kelly and I have modeled for him um, to help shape him, right? And it's going to come from, surprise, surprise, the choices that he's going to make, right? When mom and dad are not there to help guide him, and to me that like uh there's an anxiousness because there's like we can't there's no like direct control anymore. If I don't know how to put that into words, but like uh it, uh like we'll always be his parents,
Yeah.
right? And we'll always love him, we'll always pray for him, and we'll always offer him wisdom, but the life that he's going to be like going into, like it's going to be it's really going to be his, and he's got to take ownership of it, and he's going to have to faithfully steward it before God, right? I remember who, I think it was like Trevor Baker was, I think he was talking about like valuing faith and like putting words around faith, right? It's not just a word, right? And I remember him saying, when he's talking about stewarding your life before God and valuing faith, he said your life is God's gift to you. What you do with your life is your gift back to him. So your faith in the Lord, I'm praying that like his faith, like it becomes the pinnacle for what he values in life, because I know the benefits of it. But again, him taking ownership and his faith becoming his faith has to be his own, right? So I think I shared with you also, like, the verse that I kind of wrote out for him for his birthday, which is First Corinthians 16, 13, and 14. Be on your guard, stand firm in faith, be courageous, be strong, do everything in love. That's how I pray and hope um, for him, because again, this goes back to what we've kind of started out talking about. I want him to be watchful over his heart, right? Because not uh, the world is going to come at you, right, with everything, distraction, cell phone, which is big. It's summer, so there's not a lot of structure in summer,
Right.
right? So like, but I want him to understand as he gets closer, and that he's on guard and he stands firm in his faith, that not every influence deserves like his heart. It doesn't deserve his attention, right? So standing firm in faith, especially when following Jesus is going to cost you, right? I'm kind of like sharing with you what I wrote, right? Standing firm, especially when Jesus um, uh, when following Jesus is going to cost you something, right? Um, be courageous enough to do what is right, even when you have to be there alone sometimes. So, and that's what leadership is, right? Sometimes leadership, you're standing alone sometimes, doing the right thing, even when not everybody's going to agree. And then being strong enough to carry responsibilities, be coachable, receive correction, uh, and getting back up when life knocks you down. And then the last part is doing everything in love, because uh, I want him to be governed by love, right? God is love, so if he's being governed by love, right? God is governing his life. So, anyways, that is uh, all that wrapped up. Everything that I said is a lot of the emotions and the things that are going on in my mind when it comes to stewarding an 18-year-old, uh, you
Yeah.
know, who's going to be an adult, and the thoughts that come with it. Boy, and I love them, man. I love both of my sons very much, and uh, yeah, like you said, man, uh, we Kelly and I, we we are continuing to do our best, and hopefully godly foundations for our kids, so that they can go out into the world and uh, and be, uh, godly young men. And again, like I said, like the, from what I've experienced and what God has like uh, graciously revealed to me with my oldest son and my youngest son for that matter too, like they have had patterns of um making good decisions.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think even just I was thinking about just even the transition there too is interesting. Probably I'm your kids are older than mine by a few years, so it's fun to watch you go through the transitions first. But even Peyton being 13 this year, and even just that's it's kind of a transition year for him too, where it's flexing muscle and doing stuff and being like like there's sometimes where I was like, really, you want to go right now? Okay, like testosterone's hitting your brain and you getting a little big for your britches, and like, okay, all right, let's do this. And when it's appropriate to put him in his place, and when it's like, all right, I'm gonna let you flex for a second, and we'll like let's test this out. Let's see how this
Yeah.
goes. But yeah, man. I mean, yeah, just the transition of it too, and even I guess, and I think coming full circle, probably the best thing, advice, whatever, to be able to give your kids, especially right now in today's day and age. I was listening to some podcasts and they were talking about the fact that 1930 to 1940 was not that big of a transition, or it wasn't that big of a gap. I mean, yeah, there was different wars, there was things, but like the year 1700 to 1800, not that big of a difference. The year 2025 to the year 2035 is going to be remarkable. The amount of things that are changing right now. And so even just thinking about that, it's like, okay, Ty going into college, literally the things that kids are going to learn right now as a freshman are going to be fairly obsolete by the time my son, who's 5 years younger, is going to be a freshman. Like it's honestly, things are changing that fast. And so rather than being like fearful and overwhelmed and all the things that can come with that, it's taking a pause and saying, all right, Holy Spirit, like what do you have for me?
Hmm.
Because my path is not going to be everybody's path. And so if I can tune into that and have peace and then just walk that out, I think that's going to be the biggest differentiator that's out there.